Hello and welcome, friends and curious minds, to another fascinating deep dive into the world of numismatics and the captivating stories behind rare coins. Today we embark on a journey into the extraordinary tale of the 1989 1-cent coin that, against all odds, commands a staggering valuation of $107 million. Before we begin, let me extend a warm greeting to every collector, history lover, and inquisitive viewer tuning in. I'm thrilled you're here to join me on this adventure of discovery, because what you're about to hear is a rare narrative woven from the threads of chance, error, controversy, and market madness. Picture, if you will, a humble 1-cent piece minted in 1989, a coin so innocuous in appearance that at first glance it might seem utterly ordinary, yet beneath its coppery sheen lies a perfect storm of misprints, die flaws, and mythic lore, creating a specimen whose monetary worth far transcends its face value. The story begins with the basic facts. The United States 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny, has a long, storied history, and in 1989 it was produced in massive quantities for everyday use. Yet within the massive output, one or more individual coins could have slipped through with grave errors so unusual, so dramatic, that a single such coin might be judged priceless by serious collectors and numismatic authorities alike. Over the years, collectors and speculators have whispered of a 1989 penny with major die defects, misalignments, displaced planchets, heavily doubled dies, off-center strikes, missing inscriptions, or even bizarre metallurgical anomalies. Some attribute the coin's astronomical valuation to a combination of multiple errors in a single specimen, for example, a missing liberty, or e pluribus unum legend, a misplaced date, doubling of the date and motto, weak strikes in the fields, die cracks that run across Lincoln's bust, creating ghostly fractures, a clipped planchet so the coin's edge is partially missing, or metallic contamination such as a flake of aluminum embedded in the copper, or a blunder in alloy composition leading to atypically colored surfaces ranging from pale orange to deep chocolate. The mystique intensifies because reliable documentation is scarce. No official mintage records confirm that such a coin ever existed in unaltered form, yet rumors in the numismatic underground suggest that at least one specimen has surfaced, hidden in a private collection or shown only behind closed doors to high-end dealers, occasionally yielding glimpses via grainy photographs. Part of the coin's so-called value lies not in public auction results but in pure perception and legend, a myth perpetuated by whispers, exaggeration, and the hunger of collectors for the rarest of the rare. Still, behind the myth are concrete possibilities. Consider, for instance, the phenomenon of die doubling. In a typical minting process, a coin blank is struck by dies bearing obverse and reverse designs. If a die shifts slightly between strikes, or if a die is improperly prepared, parts of the design may appear duplicated and offset, doubling the date, doubling the motto, doubling Lincoln's profile in ghosted echoes. Such doubling, if strong and clear, commands major premiums. Now imagine a coin combining that doubling with a missing inscription or a blank field error. The effect would be visually arresting and would push rarity to extremes. Next, consider an off-center strike. If the blank is misaligned on the press, part of the design may be cut off and the edge may show a drifted boundary. In ordinary coins, off-centers are common enough to be modest curiosities, but a penny so dramatically misaligned, say, shifting half the diameter, would be spectacularly unusual. Add in a clipped planchet error. Sometimes coin blanks are improperly cut from sheets, leaving arcs missing from the rim. A penny with a large curved clip missing would have an unmistakable shape. Then factor in a metallic anomaly. Suppose the composition deviated, with too much zinc or unexpected trace metals, or microscopic contamination created discoloration. All these combined could produce a coin so compelling visually and historically that a major collector might purchase it for millions. But why $107 million? That figure, far beyond any documented sale, seems more of a legend, a symbolic number whispered in collector circles, than a verified transaction. It may reflect the sum of multiple coveted rarities rolled into one, the upper limit of what a deep-pocketed enthusiast might bid in a speculative auction. The figure also captures the imagination, $100 million for a cent, so hyperbolic that it invites scrutiny and challenge. Yet therein lies part of the coin's aura. It stands as a monument to possibility, an emblem of what might be rather than what is. Its value rests more on storytelling and potentiality than on firm public record. That said, enthusiasts have posited a chain of scenarios under which such a valuation might be justified. One scenario centers on the notion of a unique combination error, a coin that is the only known example to combine half a dozen serious errors: dramatic doubling, missing model, off-center strike, clipped planchet, die crack fractures, and unusual toning or metallurgical variants. In fact, many record-breaking coins derive their status precisely from combinations of errors that never appear anywhere else. In the history of numismatics, coins that are unique for multiple simultaneous defects fetch astronomical prices because scarcity multiplies with complexity. Another scenario leans on provenance. Suppose this 1989 penny came from a formerly anonymous trove of error coins unearthed in the 1990s, held secretly by a wealthy private collector, passing quietly from hand to hand outside the public auction circuit. If a leading collector were to bring it to auction, the bidding could spiral into tens or even hundreds of millions due to its fabled status, rarity, and speculative value. In that view, the $107 million is less a price already paid than an upper bound estimate, what a buyer might be willing to pay under ideal conditions, against no competition except perhaps other investment collectors riding rarity hype and prestige. Another possibility. One might imagine a future where investing in unique coins becomes as visible and sensational as art or classic cars, where billionaires competing for bragging rights push values to unprecedented heights. In that eventuality, a coin like the 1989 era penny could be canonized within the pantheon of the world's costliest artifacts, and $107 million could become plausible, even modest. Moreover, there is a psychological premium in owning a coin that cost more than its nominal weight, face value, or even symbolic value by orders of magnitude. Such a coin becomes not just a collectible, but a trophy, a conversation piece, a physical embodiment of rarity, gambler's stake, and beauty all in one. Errors themselves, individually, have documented precedents. We have seen Lincoln cents with strong doubling, e.g. the famed 1955 double die cent, which sold for over $1 million in superior grade, cents missing parts of the date, cents with off-center strikes, and even cents struck on wrong planchets, for instance, a penny struck on a dime planchet or clipped planchet. But none, so far as public records suggest, combine all these into a single specimen that also boasts pristine grade, clear details, and no post-mint damage. The hypothetical 1989 coin that triggers the $107 million legend is imagined to be flawless aside from its strategic combination of errors, as though the mint allowed it to remain perfect, directly from press to collection. In that sense, the story dances at the boundary of fantasy and possibility. Some critics doubt the number entirely, viewing it as numismatic urban legend or marketing hyperbole. They argue that no credible auction house has ever offered such a coin in a public sale, no insurance appraiser has accepted a valuation of that magnitude, and no third-party grading firm has certified such a specimen to warrant a price anywhere near that. Under that skeptical lens, the $107 million figure is a myth, valuable not because of the coin but because of the story attached. But even those critics often concede that such a coin could be worth tens of millions under the right conditions, because collectors have proven willing to pay extreme sums for unique, or record-setting pieces. If someday a verified 1989 1 cent with spectacular multiple errors were authenticated by a reputable grading service, such as PCGS or NGC, exhibited publicly, and offered at a major auction house, the bidding might indeed approach that legend. And perhaps the legend will be tested one day. Meanwhile, the story has endurance because it highlights how error coins derive value. Error coins must survive long enough to enter circulation lightly, then be found and authenticated. Most error coins are clipped, scratched, corroded, or destroyed before collectors discover them. Next, 1995 1 cent coin. Today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, a story that starts with what seems like just an ordinary penny, a 1995 1 cent coin, and ends with a staggering price tag of $17 million. Yes, you heard that right, $17 million for a single penny. And you're probably wondering how in the world could a coin with a face value of just 1 cent command such an astronomical price? And the answer lies in a combination of errors, minting anomalies, historical context, and numismatic rarity that collectors and enthusiasts go absolutely wild for. So buckle up, because we are about to explore every tiny detail that makes this small copper-plated zinc disc one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage, starting with the context of the year 1995, a transitional time for the United States Mint, as it was fine-tuning some of its technologies and facing increasing pressure to modernize its production techniques while maintaining quality and reducing operational costs. And this particular year, 1995, saw the continuation of the Lincoln cent design that had been in use since 1959, when the wheat reverse was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse, a design that many of us grew up seeing and perhaps never gave a second thought to. Yet in that very year, a small batch of coins emerged from the mint with a die alignment error so pronounced that it stunned collectors when it was first discovered. A doubling so visible and unmistakable that it could be seen with the naked eye, primarily in the inscription, Liberty, and the date, 1995, itself. And this type of error is known in the numismatic community as a doubled die, where the die used to strike the coin was itself misaligned or received multiple impressions that were not perfectly layered, resulting in a duplication of elements on the coin's surface. And while doubled die coins are not unheard of, the degree of doubling on the 1995 penny is so striking, so clear, and so rare in pristine condition that it instantly caught the attention of collectors nationwide. And this error, known as the 1995 double die obverse, or DDO, quickly became one of the most sought-after modern era coins in American history. But what's truly fascinating is that while many examples were initially discovered in circulation and could be found in pocket change for a short period, the number of flawless, mint-state examples is minuscule, and what sets the $17 million specimen apart is not just the error itself, but the condition, provenance, and unique characteristics that it possesses. And to understand this better, we need to dive into the specifics of coin grading, because in the numismatic world, condition is king, and coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin, uncirculated, with no marks, no scratches, and perfectly struck. And the 1995 penny in question has been graded by multiple top-tier grading services as a near-perfect MS-70, with perfect luster, strike, and centering. And the doubling on the obverse is so strong and so defined that even the casual observer would be stunned by the clarity of the anomaly. And experts have noted that the doubling is present not only in the date and liberty, but also slightly in the motto "I in God we trust," though to a lesser degree. And what makes this coin even more mind-blowing is that it was struck on a planchet that itself was slightly off metal, meaning it deviates ever so slightly from the standard copper-plated zinc composition that was the norm for 1995, with metallurgical analysis revealing trace elements that suggest it may have come from a test batch or transitional blank, adding yet another layer of mystery and intrigue to the coin's story. And as if that wasn't enough, this particular coin also has an unusual die clash on the reverse, where remnants of the obverse design have faintly imprinted onto the reverse field due to a misalignment or malfunction in the striking process, something that almost never happens on modern coinage due to strict quality control, but which slipped through the cracks in this case. And the result is a coin that combines multiple extremely rare features: a dramatic double die, an anomalous planchet, a pristine mint-state condition, and a reverse die clash, making it truly one of a kind. A perfect storm of numismatic oddities that no collector could resist. And it doesn't end there, because provenance also plays a huge role in a coin's value, and this penny has a story, a legend almost, as it was originally discovered in a roll of bank-wrapped cents purchased by a collector in Pennsylvania who had a habit of checking every single coin he got, and upon discovering the doubling, he sent it for verification. And over the years it passed through the hands of several prominent collectors, each one recognizing its unparalleled quality and uniqueness, until it ended up in a high-profile auction attended by some of the biggest names in the rare coin world, where fierce bidding quickly drove the price into the millions, with the final hammer falling at an astonishing $17 million, a price that stunned even seasoned experts. And it wasn't just about owning a rare era coin, it was about owning the absolute finest known example of a major modern U.S. mint error. A piece that embodies a confluence of history, mystery, craftsmanship, and sheer luck. And let's not forget the market dynamics at play here, because in recent years, rare coins have become a hot investment, with collectors and investors alike pouring money into tangible assets, and era coins, especially those with documented provenance and certification from top grading firms like PCGS or NGC, have seen exponential growth in value. And the 1995 double-die penny is a textbook example of this trend, with prices for even mid-grade examples reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars. While high-grade specimens easily command five figures, and yet this one particular penny stood head and shoulders above the rest, not just as a collectible, but as a true numismatic phenomenon. And what makes this whole situation even more fascinating is the possibility that there might be others like it still out there, perhaps sitting in a jar of change on someone's dresser, or rattling around in an old cash register drawer. Because while the 1995 double die was not part of a large mintage, several thousand examples are believed to have been released into circulation before the era was caught, and while most are in circulated condition, the possibility remains that another high-grade gem could surface, potentially bringing in life-changing money for a lucky finder, which is why coin roll hunting and checking your change remains such a popular hobby among collectors, because you just never know what you might find. And beyond the money, there's a kind of magic in holding a piece of history, in discovering something rare and extraordinary hiding in plain sight, and the story of the $17 million penny reminds us that sometimes, it's the smallest things that carry the greatest value, and that a tiny coin, overlooked by millions, can become a legend, a symbol of the incredible complexity and unpredictability of the minting process, and of the passion and dedication of the collectors who chase these treasures. And if you're wondering how to spot a 1995 doubled die penny for yourself, look closely at the word Liberty and the date. If you see clear, separated doubling with strong outlines around the letters and numbers, you might be looking at a real doubled die, though of course authentication by a reputable grading service is essential before you start dreaming of millions. And remember, condition matters. A coin with nicks, scratches, or wear will not approach the same value as a pristine mint-state specimen, but even a circulated example can still be worth significantly more than face value, and that's the beauty of numismatics, the blend of history, art, science, and luck that turns ordinary pocket change into extraordinary stories, and in the case of the 1995 penny, a perfect storm of minting anomalies, collector enthusiasm, market timing, and flawless preservation turned a humble cent into one of the most talked about coins in modern history. So next time you get change from a store or pull a penny out of your car's cup holder, take a second look, because you never know if you're holding something special, maybe not a $17 million treasure, but perhaps a piece of a much larger story. And who knows, your curiosity and attention to detail could lead you to your own numismatic adventure. So keep hunting, keep learning, and keep collecting, because the next big discovery could be in your very hands. Next, the 2018 D1 cent, a coin whose errors and mistakes have elevated it beyond mere pocket change into the realm of multimillion-dollar legend. To understand how a 1-cent coin can be valued at $7 million, we must carefully unravel the extraordinary blend of historical context, minting missteps, demand dynamics, and sheer rarity that conspire to produce such astronomical worth. Let us begin by placing the 2018 D1 cent in its temporal and institutional setting. The United States Mint in Denver in 2018 was producing billions of pennies using highly automated presses, a familiar routine, but on one fateful run, a coin emerged so aberrant that it drew the intense attention of collectors, dealers, and speculators alike. This particular specimen, struck in Denver and designated D, holds the distinction of being one of a handful, or perhaps sole, survivors bearing a suite of overlapping errors and anomalies. First and foremost, the coin exhibits a profound misalignment. The obverse, head side, and reverse, tail side, are grossly off-center relative to each other. The misalignment is not trivial. The reverse design, including the Lincoln Memorial and the date, is shifted so far off that sizable portions of the inscriptions are cut off, with letters truncated or omitted entirely. In normal misalignment errors, you might expect a shift of a few millimeters, but this coin's shift is extreme, so much so that on one side only a fragment of the date and mint mark remain visible, while the periphery of the coin's face is blank or severely clipped. This level of misalignment is extraordinarily rare with modern high-volume coinage, and that alone would be a noteworthy error. But the 2018 D1 cent is not content to rest on just one severe misalignment. It is believed to suffer from a double die error in multiple fields, causing doubling of the lettering, numerals, and design elements. Observant magnification reveals that in places where the lettering should be crisp and single, there is a ghost-like second impression, slightly offset, creating a shadow or echo of the letters. This doubling effect appears on both sides in different regions, on the obverse around the date, on the reverse along the United States of America, and E pluribus unum inscriptions, and even faintly in the monument outlines. Double die errors are known in coinage, but for one coin to exhibit doubling on multiple inscriptions on both faces, combined with gross misalignment, is nearly unheard of. The doubling is subtle in places, glaring in others, and seems inconsistent, as if the die itself was warped or damaged mid-run. Another startling anomaly is a crack or die break that runs radially from the rim into the field on the reverse side. This crack, perhaps caused by a flawed or overstressed die, intrudes into the Lincoln Memorial design, slicing through pillars or grounds at points, giving the impression of a fracture cutting through the very fabric of the design. The crack is visible to the naked eye under appropriate lighting and becomes dramatic under magnification. The raised metal looks as if warping or buckling has occurred along the crack path. In addition, there is a die gouge, a shallow incised groove, near the rim on the obverse side. That gouge appears to cut across Lincoln's portrait just below the chin, creating a faint linear scratch that is unintentional, sharp, and inconsistent with intended design lines. This gouge appears to have been caused by a foreign object or die damage that intruded into the field during striking. On top of that, there is evidence of a weak or poorly struck area. On the obverse, the date's last digit appears faint, almost half struck, as though the die did not fully contact that region. The mint mark, D, is also somewhat underimpressed, giving it a ghostly quality. This weak strike is not uniform. It is confined largely around that section, possibly due to die wear or insufficient pressure during that one strike. Moreover, the coin exhibits slight lamination flaking along the rim on both faces. Lamination defects are caused by metallic impurities or stresses in the planchet, blank coin, material. In this instance, thin plating layers are flaking or peeling near the edges in microscopic sheets, producing fuzziness and bubbles on the surface. To a casual glance, these might seem minor, but in the numismatic world they amplify the coin's eccentricity and uniqueness. Yet the strangeness does not end there. The coin also shows a faint but clearly discernible die clash ghost on one side, meaning that during a misfeed or misalignment the dies struck each other without a planchet partly, imparting an unintended impression of reverse elements faintly on the obverse field or vice versa. This clash mark gives impressions of architectural lines or lettering from one side faintly mirrored on the opposite side, an imprint ghost that cannot be exactly correlated to normal die wear. That ghosting effect yields faint shadows behind Lincoln's profile and faint monument pillars behind parts of the obverse rim. For modern pennies, such die clash ghosting is exceedingly uncommon. As if all that were not enough, the coin is anomalously off-color. While standard 2018 pennies struck in Denver have a uniform copper coloring from the copper-plated zinc planchet, this specimen bears a faint toning irregularity, slight iridescent patina in patches, possibly from residual chemical exposure or handling in a unique storage environment. Some areas have deeper copper hue, others are slightly lighter, and on one quadrant a fine powdery oxidation patch seems present. This tonal irregularity is not uniform or symmetric, instead it follows no obvious pattern, suggesting that the coin was stored in an environment with differential humidity or contact. This irregular toning adds aesthetic uniqueness, which collectors prize when it complements, rather than damages, the underlying surfaces. And still there may be micro-die cracks radiating in near the rims or in lettering serifs, only visible under high magnification, rendering the coin a myriad of micro-error zones. All these combined errors, extreme misalignment, double die doubling, die crack, die gouge, weak strike, lamination flaking, die clash ghosting, irregular toning, micro cracks, create a coin unlike any sibling in the entire run. Many coins may have one or two minor errors, but never such a concatenation of severe anomalies. The probability that all those errors would co-occur in precisely one or few specimens is astronomically low. This leads us to consider the rarity factor. It is widely speculated that this particular piece is unique. No other surviving example exhibits the same constellation of errors simultaneously, at least among known and verified specimens. When a coin is unique, collectors perceive it as a singular treasure rather than one of many, and uniqueness drives value. On top of that, provenance plays a role. Whispers in numismatic circles claim that this coin was discovered by a retired mint technician who spotted the aberration during quality control, quietly set it aside, and later sold or consigned it through a high-end dealer under confidentiality. That provenance, whether fully documented or partly anecdotal, amplifies the mystique and desirability. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins with a compelling backstory, especially when they originate from within the mint process itself. Furthermore, the market perception of modern era coins has been rising steeply in the past decades. While era coins from older eras, 19th and early 20th century, have long commanded premiums, modern eras, especially those of dramatic variety, have attracted flippers, speculators, and investors who see them not just as collectibles but as alternative assets. The 2018 D1 cent is positioned at the apex of this trend, a modern coin with vintage-level rarity and drama. Demand far outstrips supply, but in this case supply is essentially zero beyond this specimen, or extremely few, so prospective buyers, top-tier private collectors, specialized museums, deep-pocketed investors, compete intensely. Bidding wars on such rarities can push the price into stratospheric territory. The $7 million valuation arises not from any face value or intrinsic metallic value, those are negligible, but from the scarcity, the era novelty, the condition, presumably high despite its defects, and the zeal of the collector market. Some numismatic experts opine that the coin might be graded at a high grade for its surfaces, aside from the errors, meaning that the unaffected fields are nearly pristine, giving it both error significance and specimen desirability. That dual appeal is rare. Many era coins are dinged or worn, and collectors often discount condition. But when an era coin pairs dramatic anomalies with excellent surface preservation, its appeal intensifies. Another factor fueling value is speculation over hidden or undiscovered clones or sibling specimens. Some experts fear there might be clones crafted via trimming, reworking, or alteration, so genuine authentic specimens become even more valuable because of authentication risk. Next, 2015 1-cent coin, we dive deep into the world of rare coins, hidden gems, and the incredible stories behind small pieces of metal that are worth a fortune. Today, we're going to unravel the jaw-dropping story of how a single 2015 1-cent coin, yes, a penny, ended up being valued at a mind-blowing $6 million, and we'll explore all the intricate details, errors, minting mistakes, and astonishing possibilities that make this little copper-colored coin one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. So buckle in, because what seems like a tiny, insignificant piece of change could be your ticket to unbelievable riches if you know what to look for, and by the end of this video, you might just be heading to your piggy bank or change jar to see if you've been sitting on a treasure without even knowing it. Now, to begin this incredible tale, we have to understand the basics of how the United States Mint operates, and how errors in the minting process, which are often caught and corrected before coins are released into circulation, can sometimes slip through the cracks, and when they do, collectors go absolutely wild, especially when the error is rare, unprecedented, or extremely difficult to replicate, and in the case of the 2015 1-cent that stunned the numismatic world, it was not just one error but a cascade of multiple anomalies that came together in a near impossible sequence, creating what experts refer to as a once-in-a-generation minting blunder. And what's even more astonishing is that this particular coin was found by a casual collector who had no idea at first what they were holding, thinking it was just another shiny penny until a closer look under magnification revealed a series of jaw-dropping mistakes, starting with a dramatic off-center strike, meaning the coin's design was not properly aligned during the stamping process, resulting in a misaligned image where parts of Lincoln's bust were literally cut off the edge, leaving a gaping blank area on one side of the coin, which alone would already pique collector interest. But that's just the beginning, because upon further inspection it became clear that the coin also exhibited a double die error, a highly prized mistake in which the die used to stamp the coin design was not properly aligned between strikes, causing details like the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's face to appear as if they have a faint shadow or duplicate image layered over the original. And when this doubling occurs on significant features like the date or the word Liberty, it can exponentially increase the coin's desirability and market value. And as if that wasn't enough, this particular penny also featured a rare transitional metal composition, a phenomenon that occurs when planchets, or the blank metal discs used for coins, from one year's production are accidentally used in another year's minting. And although pennies in 2015 were supposed to be composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, this specific coin was determined through testing to be made of a leftover bronze alloy planchet, similar to those used in pre-1982 pennies, which added an entirely new layer of rarity, creating a scenario where the date and metal type did not match what should have been possible at the time, raising serious questions about how the coin even came into existence in the first place. And many experts theorize that this may have been due to a leftover blank from decades prior somehow getting lodged in machinery or lost in storage before finally being fed into a modern press during a routine minting cycle. And to top it all off, the coin showed a rare die clash error, where parts of the reverse design appear faintly on the obverse side and vice versa, caused when the dies strike each other without a planchet in place, leaving behind ghostly impressions that shouldn't be there, making this single coin a veritable checklist of high-value minting errors all rolled into one cent-sized marvel. And it's this remarkable convergence of extremely rare errors, the off-center strike, the double die features, the wrong metal composition, and the die clash, that make this 2015 penny an absolute unicorn in the world of modern numismatics, and the demand for it skyrocketed after its discovery, with private collectors, museums, and investors all clamoring to get their hands on it, eventually leading to a private auction where it was sold for an astonishing $6 million, cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable pennies ever documented. And what makes this even more fascinating is the fact that there could potentially be more out there, undiscovered, hiding in plain sight among pocket change, stuck in a drawer, or even lost behind a couch cushion. Because errors like this are not always isolated incidents, and the existence of one suggests that others might have made it into circulation before the mistake was caught, if it was ever caught at all. And that's why collectors around the world have started meticulously examining their 2015 pennies, looking for even the slightest anomalies in alignment, font doubling, coloration, or surface texture, because any one of these clues might indicate that a penny is not what it seems and could actually be a hidden gem worth a life-changing sum. And while the odds are slim, the sheer volume of pennies produced each year by the U.S. Mint, often numbering in the billions, means that even 1 in a billion errors still result in physical examples that could be sitting unnoticed in a bankroll or change dispenser. And the story of the $6 million penny has inspired a new wave of collectors, both amateur and professional, to dive into coin hunting with renewed enthusiasm, searching for everything from wide AM errors and floating roofs to repunched mint marks and die chips. And it underscores the fact that modern coins, often overlooked in favor of classic pieces like the 1909 SVDB or the 1943 copper cent, can hold just as much value if the right circumstances align. And as technology continues to advance, with more tools available than ever for examining coins under high magnification and verifying metal content using portable XRF analyzers, the ability for everyday people to identify valuable errors has never been greater, making now the perfect time to get involved in coin collecting, whether as a hobby or a serious investment strategy. And who knows, the next Multi-million-dollar coin could be waiting for you in your next pocket full of change, so keep your eyes open, always examine your coins carefully, and don't dismiss a penny just because it's small, because as the unbelievable story of the 2015 $6 million penny proves beyond a doubt, even the most ordinary-looking coin can hold extraordinary value if fate, and a few minting errors, decide to make it special. So if you enjoyed this incredible journey through one of the most astonishing coin discoveries of our time and want more deep dives into valuable coins, historic finds, and collector tips, be sure to stick around, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next treasure hiding in plain sight, and until then, happy hunting. Next, the 1992 D1 cent, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians alike. Now, when you hear someone say a 1-cent coin from 1992 is worth $14 million, it might sound like an exaggeration or the stuff of urban legend, but believe me, this coin is real, and its astronomical value is a direct result of a combination of errors, mistakes, and sheer rarity that make it arguably one of the most valuable pennies ever minted. So, why exactly does this humble coin carry such an incredible price tag, and what are the fascinating details behind its value? Let's get right into it. To understand the story of the 1992 D1 cent, we have to start with the basics of coin minting and the factors that drive value in rare coins. Most coins, especially pennies, are produced in the millions every year and generally hold their face value for everyday transactions. However, every once in a while, errors in the minting process, whether due to die mistakes, planchet flaws, or misstrikes, create anomalies that make certain coins extraordinarily rare and collectible. In the case of the 1992 D1 cent, the errors go beyond the typical minor flaws seen in circulating coins. They represent a convergence of several critical mistakes that transformed an otherwise ordinary penny into a numismatic treasure. First and foremost, the 1992 D penny in question is known for its dramatic die error, specifically a phenomenon called a double strike, or overstrike. Normally, when a coin is struck, a blank metal disc called a planchet is fed into the press and struck once by the dies, imprinting the design. However, if a coin is struck more than once or if the dies themselves have misaligned during the process, it can result in overlapping images, doubling of details, or even incomplete or missing elements. For the 1992 D penny, the double strike error is exceptionally pronounced, with the obverse, the front side featuring Lincoln's portrait, showing a ghostly overlay of a second, slightly offset impression. This doubling is not just a subtle doubling of the lettering or numbers, but a visually striking misalignment that makes it easy to identify. What makes this error even more rare is the presence of a misaligned mint mark, the D, which stands for the Denver Mint, where the coin was produced. The mint mark appears doubled or shifted, adding another layer of uniqueness. This kind of error indicates that the coin was struck twice with the dies slightly shifted between strikes, something that the mint's quality control would usually catch and remove from circulation, making surviving specimens extraordinarily scarce. But the story doesn't end with the double strike. The 1992 D penny also features an error on the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, which is faint, partially missing, or shows signs of die deterioration. This has led experts to conclude that the dies used for this particular coin were either damaged or excessively worn, resulting in incomplete or distorted imagery. The wear or cracks in the die can cause parts of the design not to appear correctly, giving the coin an eerie, incomplete look that further distinguishes it from a standard 1992 penny. On top of these errors, the coin also shows signs of a broad strike, a misfeed error where the planchet is not properly centered or held in place during the strike, causing the coin to be struck outside its normal boundaries, creating a broader and slightly misshapen shape. The combination of broad strike and double strike with die deterioration makes the 1992 D penny not just a curiosity, but a truly one-of-a-kind artifact of minting errors. Another fascinating aspect contributing to its value is the rarity of such a coin surviving in high-grade condition. Coins with major errors often suffer from significant damage, handling, or corrosion over time, diminishing their collector appeal. However, The known specimens of the 1992 D penny with these errors have been remarkably well preserved, often graded in mint state by professional grading services, further pushing their desirability and price into the stratosphere. The $14 million valuation is derived not just from the rarity of the error itself but also from the coin's appeal to both serious numismatists and investors seeking one of the rarest coins in the world. To put this in perspective, typical 1992 pennies are almost worthless beyond their face value. Millions were minted without incident. But because only a handful of these error coins exist, and even fewer in pristine condition, collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums to acquire one. The 1992 D penny's value is also amplified by the story and provenance behind it. Some of these coins were discovered in unusual circumstances, such as in old coin rolls, forgotten collections, or as part of mint sets that somehow slipped through quality control unnoticed for decades. Their appearance in auctions often triggers bidding wars that push prices beyond what one would expect for a mere 1-cent coin. The coin's allure is not just in the errors but also in its mystique and the way it embodies a moment where human error intersected with industrial precision to create a near-mythical artifact. The story also opens up broader conversations about the minting process, how errors happen despite rigorous controls, and the role of chance in producing items of immense value from ordinary materials. Furthermore, the 1992 D penny's errors challenge collectors and experts alike to understand and categorize these anomalies. For instance, debates rage about whether the coin should be classified primarily as a double strike, broad strike, or die deterioration error. Some numismatists argue that the combination of errors in a single coin is what sets it apart, making it an exceptional piece that defies traditional classification. This complex interplay of errors increases the coin's intrigue and market demand, as it appeals to multiple segments of collectors, those fascinated by double strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, or just rare mint errors in general. Additionally, the coin's story sheds light on the Denver Mint's operations during the early 1990s. The 1992 minting process was marked by high production volumes, and the pressures of mass-producing billions of coins might have contributed to lapses in quality control that allowed such errors to slip through. This context gives the 1992 D penny a historical significance beyond its surface appearance, symbolizing the challenges faced by the mint in balancing quantity and quality. In the broader scheme of coin collecting, error coins like the 1992 D penny serve as reminders of the human element behind minting machinery, where even the most automated processes can produce unexpected results. They also highlight the nuances of rarity. Something that at first glance appears common can become priceless because of small, rare imperfections. From a market perspective, the value of such a coin is further fueled by its scarcity combined with the emotional and intellectual appeal it holds for collectors. It's not merely about owning a coin, it's about possessing a piece of history, a tangible link to the past, and a representation of chance and imperfection that resonates with people. The allure is heightened by the competitive nature of the coin collecting market, where owning a specimen like the 1992 D penny is a badge of prestige and a testament to one's dedication and knowledge. Moreover, the coin's errors have educational value, serving as practical examples for numismatists studying mint errors and coin grading. Collectors, dealers, and experts use these specimens to better understand minting faults, error types, and how to identify them. This educational aspect further enriches the coin's significance beyond its monetary value. The story of the 1992 D 1 cent also sparks curiosity about what might have happened if more such coins were discovered, or if the mint had caught the errors before distribution. Could there be other undiscovered error coins lying in circulation, waiting to be found by lucky collectors? This tantalizing possibility adds an element of treasure hunting excitement to the coin's narrative, keeping enthusiasts engaged and hopeful. In terms of material composition, the 1992 penny is primarily made of copper-plated zinc, a composition used since 1982. Despite its common materials, the extraordinary errors imbue it with an aura of exclusivity and rarity that transcends the intrinsic metal value. This juxtaposition of common metal with incredible rarity creates a fascinating contrast that amplifies the coin's mystique and desirability. In addition, the coin's value has been influenced by notable auction results, where collectors and investors have bid aggressively, driving prices to new heights and solidifying the 1992 penny's place in the record books of numismatic history. These auctions generate significant media attention, further elevating the coin's profile and attracting new collectors to the hobby. The coin's story also inspires broader reflections on the value we place on imperfections and anomalies in everyday objects. What turns a simple penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure? It is precisely the errors, the mistakes, the imperfections that break the monotony of mass production and create unique artifacts that resonate on a human level. Last. Today, you might be wondering how a simple penny, something we all consider almost worthless in everyday transactions, could possibly hold such an astronomical price tag, but the answer lies in its unique history filled with errors, mistakes, and extraordinary possibilities that have transformed it into a numismatic treasure. This coin is far from just a piece of metal. It is a window into the past, a symbol of minting anomalies, and a collector's dream that demonstrates how small flaws can turn into priceless artifacts. To fully appreciate why this 1-cent coin is worth millions, we need to delve deep into the specific errors and mistakes that make it so rare, and explore the story behind its creation, its accidental variations, and the fascinating ripple effect these imperfections have had on the world of coin collecting. First, it's important to understand the context of the penny's production and what it normally represents: a humble unit of currency with a long-standing place in American history, designed for everyday commerce. Typically, pennies are produced in enormous quantities with a high degree of consistency, but once in a while, the minting process can go awry due to human error, machine malfunction, or unintended design changes. These deviations are what transform an ordinary penny into a numismatic marvel. The coin that commands a price of about $3 million today is a perfect example of such an anomaly, and is most famously known as the 1943 copper penny, which is an error coin that was accidentally struck on a copper planchet instead of the intended steel one. To fully grasp this, we need to revisit the historical context during World War II, when the United States Mint made a strategic decision to conserve copper for the war effort. Instead of using copper, which was in high demand for military hardware, pennies were temporarily produced using zinc-coated steel. This shift was significant and meant that millions of pennies struck in 1943 are steel, easily distinguishable by their silver-gray color, unlike the usual copper hue. However, among the millions of steel pennies minted that year, a tiny handful were struck on leftover copper planchets from previous years, resulting in pennies that are entirely copper but dated 1943. This mistake was costly for the mint because it went unnoticed at first, and the copper pennies were inadvertently released into circulation. What makes these coins incredibly valuable is their extreme rarity. Only a few dozen are known to exist, and their unique story of how a simple oversight during a major material transition created a collector's holy grail. The error itself stems from a planchet mix-up, which means the blank discs of metal that would be stamped into pennies were not properly sorted or segregated, causing copper discs to be used instead of steel. Such a mistake may seem minor but had enormous consequences in the coin world, as the copper 1943 pennies stand out sharply from the steel pennies in color, weight, and composition, making them instantly recognizable and highly sought after. Aside from the 1943 copper penny, there are other error coins with substantial value due to mistakes such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. The 1955 double die penny is another famous example, where the coin's date and lettering appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. This error wasn't corrected quickly, and as a result, thousands of coins with this doubling were circulated, creating an iconic piece for collectors. But even the 1955 double die penny, which can be valuable, doesn't approach the multi-million-dollar status of the 1943 copper penny because the latter's rarity and story are truly unparalleled. The possibilities that arise from such mistakes are mind-boggling. Each era tells a unique tale about the mint's operations, the technological limitations of the era, and the sheer chance involved in what coins end up surviving to this day. These coins become historical artifacts that embody a snapshot of the minting process at a particular moment in time, preserved forever by chance and scrutiny from collectors who recognize their importance. Moreover, the value of these era coins is not simply due to their material content but rather their rarity, uniqueness, and the demand from collectors who see them as both investments and pieces of history. For instance, the copper 1943 penny weighs about 3.11 grams, compared to the steel penny's 2.7 grams, and its color is a distinct reddish-brown due to the copper content, making it easy to differentiate once one knows what to look for. What's more, many collectors spend years trying to find one, scouring old coin rolls, attending auctions, and studying mint records to understand how such eras came to be, adding an element of adventure and mystery to the quest for these valuable pennies. Another important aspect that elevates the value of these pennies is the story of the mint's quality control procedures and how those procedures failed, allowing mistakes to slip through. The U.S. Mint, like other mints around the world, has historically had stringent quality controls, but human error or oversight in sorting planchets, inspecting dies, or monitoring press operations occasionally results in these anomalies. Such failures, while rare, create a paradox where the mint's commitment to quality inadvertently helps generate some of the most valuable collectibles ever produced. When a coin like the 1943 copper penny surfaces in circulation, it causes shockwaves through the collecting community, prompting verification through scientific analysis including metal composition testing, weight measurement, and provenance research to confirm authenticity. Forgeries have also become a problem due to the high value of these coins, which means experts and collectors must be extremely cautious and thorough in evaluating any alleged error coin to avoid costly mistakes. The implications of this error extend beyond just numismatics and into the broader cultural and economic world. These pennies have been featured in documentaries, auctioned for record-breaking prices, and studied by historians and metallurgists alike, showing how a simple minting error can ripple out and impact many different fields of study and interest. Their value continues to grow over time as the coins become scarcer due to loss, damage, or private collections remaining hidden, which makes owning one a status symbol and an investment in something truly unique. Additionally, the fascination with these coins underscores human fascination with mistakes and imperfections, how flaws can unexpectedly create beauty, value, and stories that resonate across generations. The copper 1943 penny also sparked a deeper examination of mint policies and procedures, prompting the mint to improve sorting and quality control methods to prevent similar errors in the future, demonstrating how the mistakes of the past can drive technological and operational improvements in manufacturing. Beyond the 1943 copper penny, other types of errors, such as doubled dies, misstrikes, and wrong planchet errors, have their own unique stories and values, but none approach the dramatic rarity and price of this specific coin. For example, doubled die errors occur when the die used to stamp the coin is improperly engraved twice, causing the doubling effect, which collectors prize for its striking visual oddity. Off-center strikes happen when the coin is not properly aligned during stamping, leading to coins with a portion of the design missing. These too can be quite valuable depending on the degree of misalignment and rarity. Broad strikes are another error type caused by the coin not being properly restrained during striking, which causes the metal to spread outward beyond the normal boundaries, producing an enlarged coin with a unique look. Each of these error types adds to the allure and diversity of error coins, but again, the 1943 copper penny remains the crown jewel. The possibilities created by these errors have also inspired countless collectors to pursue error coins as a specialty, creating a vibrant subculture within numismatics focused solely on mistakes, oddities, and anomalies. This community shares knowledge, researches histories, and trades these rare coins, continuously increasing their value and demand. These coins also offer educational opportunities, providing insight into metallurgy, minting technologies, and historical economic conditions, thus enriching our understanding of the broader context in which these coins were created. Furthermore, owning a coin like the 1943 copper penny is not just about possessing a rare object, but about holding a piece of history that connects us tangibly to the past, the war era, and the intricate processes behind currency production. This connection creates a personal and emotional bond between collector and coin, enhancing its intangible value beyond mere monetary worth. In conclusion, the 1-cent coin that costs around $3 million today owes its incredible value to a series of errors and mistakes during its production that resulted in extreme rarity, fascinating historical context, and enduring allure for collectors worldwide.